in so many different fronts right now. I don't even know where to begin. But I'll start with a little update from over the weekend. So last we had spoken, we had talked about some big meetings going on down the street. We had talked about, wasn't sure what was going to happen, who they were, that type of thing. Well, they're basically a group of Black Sun generals that are here and still are here, have been here. They came in originally because the Silent Circle came in.
Okay.
Now, this town has long been known as, I'd say a secret headquarters for the Black Sun. I know that's why I was brought here all those years ago, several years ago anyway. And this was the place they approached first for multiple reasons. Number one, they have been running around securing Bureau of Land Management land and its resources here in the States. They have been doing this everywhere, as we had talked about. So there's one of those sites not too far from here. And then they approached the town after they had left there, basically telling them they were under new management. There was a little bit of an argument and a little bit of a fight. They are still here now. They are not communicating with those people anymore. There was a conversation had about a meeting that is to take place on the 28th, as I have told you. And they, I guess you would say the old management has been trying feverishly to fix things. They had told them that they were going to work with me to fix things. And by work with me in the eyes of generals and the Order of the Dragon and these people, that means they had multiple conversations about possibly getting rid of me, how to convince me to leave the zone, what kind of special person could they bring to an area just outside the zone in order to drag me out there so then I could be subject to their, let's just say, a special way of convincing people to do things. They've talked about, presidents and whatnot. They want me outside of here. That was one thought. The next thought was, how do we manipulate her? Can we get a hold of the system? And they've spent all weekend at various locations trying to hack the system, trying to revive old systems that don't exist. And clearly, regardless of what even the Silent Circle says, they're going to do things their way. Now, the last several days, and this started over the weekend and has continued, they have decided, not only from here, but also the elders, so to speak, in the Order of the Dragon, have decided to use the U.S. government as a ploy to try to get me to fund the government like we had done underneath the Trump administration. Well, the problem with that is that, it's trust that plan, right? Trust the plan, trust the plan. And not like I ever trusted the plan, but I was on obligation at the time and under contract by a 10-year extension to do that funding. I am no longer under that contract, therefore no longer obligated to the government. But somehow they either didn't tell them about that or they've convinced them that the repository is the only way or something. I'm not sure, because we got calls from Schumer. We've gotten calls from aides in the White House. I'm supposed to have another talk with that party at a little later on this afternoon, my time. And everybody's looking for funding, but everybody wants to pretend that I don't exist. So I'm sure then that would mean someone, be it the people down the street or the Order of the Dragon or Rothschild, or somebody would still pretend to be in control, but they're not. Now, everybody is getting a huge dose of the truth from the Silent Circle as they make their way not only through the U.S. government, but through the whole world. And I'm kind of I'm kind of going to focus on the U.S. because what happens here at this point, due to the widespread dollar, is going to happen everywhere. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about why this is a problem. So in my past experience, and there are many people out there in the world who do this, if a company is failing, they're going bankrupt, sometimes they call in a bank or a lender or someone like BlackRock or anyone, in this particular field to acquire a capital loan or some additional funding in order to prevent the bankruptcy from happening. Now, when you go to a lender or a hedge fund or a bank or, could be a venture capital partner, you have to have a clear-cut plan. And that doesn't mean you go around on Twitter and 50 other social media sites saying, trust the plan. That's not the way this works. You can't just walk into a lender or a venture capitalist and say, trust the plan. Right. Well, what is the plan? No, these people are getting ready to fork out millions of dollars or billions of dollars in some cases. In the case of governments, they're asking for trillions. Mm-hmm. So I would like to know what the plan is. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. They want money.
So you're bankrupt. You cannot fund your budgets. The ridiculous numbers that you've put out there in budgets. And where is our money going to go? And how are you going to prevent this untenuous situation from happening again? Well, the first thing that a venture capitalist will look at, if you do not have a plan because they don't, there's no more trust the plan, that doesn't work anymore, you're going to look at management. You're going to take a serious look at management. If there is no plan to pull your company out of bankruptcy by creating other production or various other things you could do, maybe there's an expansion that will help you get into new markets, but how are you going to fix your company? Mm-hmm. Well, government is government, but it's run pretty much like a corporation. You've got the president, you've got the CEO, you've got the venture capitalists that come in and funded the government. You've got lobbyists and then the corporations that all feed off the government. It's kind of like the corporation of all corporations, so to speak. And I'm not talking about the alternative media's version of U.S. Inc. and versus the U.S. government and the Republic. I'm just talking about the structure. So right now, the management of the company, known as the U.S. government, which would be your generals, and for the most part, you're talking about the Blue Dragon. The Order of the Blue Dragon or the Order of the Dragon in totality. In some cases, you could say it's the Chinese section as well. And they all participate. Red Dragon, is promptly sinking Russia into the toilet as well as the Order of the Black Sun. And they're all trying to come up with a way to control the corporation. Governments, plural. But we'll stick with the U.S. because that's who's predominantly calling constantly. So right now, what I see is a bankrupt corporation, and I see a bunch of management staff thinking that the way to fix this is to continue hacking feverishly to try to get control of a system that is never going to work. And I also see them trying to revive things. So I liken this to you and I getting together, Sunny, and deciding that we're going to make tube TVs. Do you remember those big, huge boxes in your living room with the tubes in them, and they'd come replace the tubes when things went bad? So we've come up with a better version of it. It's just as enormous. It's just as functional. And we're going to do the antennas again, and we're going to try to, work our way into today's world, and we're going to market these things. Now, it's probably not going to go that well because some of the comments that were made to me by the middle management, aka your Congress, were things like, this has been going on this way for 60 years. What do you mean we can't do it this way? Now, So we've just come back from the venture capitalist, and in office, and they said they need a plan. So what we've done is we've recreated the same type of budget, 3,000 pages, and we're going to present that. And it's going to say blah, 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 hidden law, hidden law, hidden law. And then
they always do.
$500 billion to Boeing, $500 million to American Airlines, blah, 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 lobbyist group, so on and so forth. And then, oh yeah, there's a little bit of money to keep the government running. We say we're going to do infrastructure, but nothing ever changes.
Nope.
And everything's falling apart. Bottom line, the country is bankrupt because you have bad management.
Yep.
Fair?
Yep.
Because that's what a venture capitalist would look at. So if they're coming to me for money, I'm going to say, okay, there is bad management here. They're not doing anything to fix the actual country and prevent it from going bankrupt again in the future.
But Kim, in all fairness, could they even, because again, they're puppets.
Yes.
But they're puppets, right? This middle management, like Congress or whatever. Do you really think they would have the ability to think for themselves and come up with a plan?
Well, that would be the management's job, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, they are a few sandwiches short of a picnic, if you know what I mean. They're not coming up with any sort of plan whatsoever, other than they're in full-on panic mode, and they've resumed doing what they've been doing for the last 15 years. President level would also be considered middle management in this case. So what do you need to fix the company? Okay, well, let's go over it, in somewhat detail. And if anybody disagrees with me, please let me know. Maybe you've come up with something else. So the fantasy of democracy is a joke. We do not vote, the whole pretense, our Bill of Rights, all of these things are things we don't have.
Right.
And we even had less of over the last 3 years. So in order to fix the country itself, you need to change the mission statement. That would be the first thing. What are we going to do? How is our country going to run? This goes for everywhere. The next thing that the Silent Circle has managed to do is they basically told the management that they would be fired. They would be replacing the management if they can't get it done by the time we are scheduled to have a meeting very soon, within the next few days.
So that's the operatives, Kim? Is that who you're saying would have
the Silent Circle?
Right. They were saying it, but were they saying it to the operatives? Like, who's management here?
They were saying it to these, Order of the Black Sun remaining generals, the ones from Cheyenne, the Order of the Dragon. This is not only for the U.S., this is for the entire world. But what happens here happens everywhere else. So this is a pretty big focus for them, as it is for us, as it is for the world. Right. So we have to start here in order to fix it.
Gotcha.
So they have determined that come the next few days, they are going to remove the management staff. First thing you do when you fix a company.
And that's a Silent Circle when you say that?
Yes.
They are going to, okay.
I agree with them.
Yeah.
I agree with them that these people do not have a business plan to fix the country.
Right.
And a business plan is needed. Things that should be included in the business plan. Let's just say we are going to have this conversation before that meeting happens, and the management staff is going to try to save themselves and continue on with some kind of position in this world that matters other than janitorial staff. Okay? Because they can always have a position, cleaning somebody's toilet. I mean, I need my toilet cleaned. I mean, that would be great if I didn't have to do it myself. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the usefulness at this moment because there is no strategic planning on their part in any way. I see a bunch of sporadic operations that all end poorly. promises that they don't deliver on, and therefore we're now at critical mass in the world of corporations. You're either going to go under or you're going to fix it. And going under means a lot to the whole world right now. Mm-hmm. So number one, included in your business plan, no more taxes. 80% of taxes collected in the United States currently go to the Rothschild family through the XN system in Belgium. Yeah. So you're paying your taxpayer dollars in order to have a quote-unquote representative in Congress that allegedly is supposed to represent your state, your area, and then vote accordingly because you have agreed with their principles. That was the plan, but that's not what's happening. Management controls all that. Management controls those decisions, and the big corporations and the big campaign donors are the ones that also get funding and drive the bus. Mm-hmm. So, number one in the business plan, you will go to a spending tax only. Okay. A spending tax only in every single state, individually and collectively on a federal way, would solve your problem. And then no more taxes getting transferred to orders of dragons and societies and ridiculous people that haven't paid you in 15 years. Right. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we will take a look at how many departments you have. Okay, this is the next thing we have to take a look at. How many divisions, how many intelligence agencies does the United States have? Do we need to have an intelligence agency for everything from ones to figure out how many people consume toilet paper to, how many people, make a phone call to their parents? And I mean, how many times can you record a phone conversation? Yeah. Not only here in the United States, but all around the world. How many do you need? You don't need that many. You maybe need one domestic and one foreign.
And you don't need to be spying on us either.
Unless there's a reason.
Yeah.
The constant monitoring of people is so ridiculous. We're 90% of us don't know anything about anything we're talking about. There's certainly, and if anybody does become even a slight hint of a threat or